I found out that I was smart, but I went for the first 25 years thinking I was a ditz. We'll talk about a story in your head that was entirely untrue, but how would I have known? The simplest way that I have come to terms with it is that the brain is the hardware and the mind is the software, the programming. Each of us has a hand in that programming, and we can program it better.
Hey, welcome back to Hindsight, the podcast. I'm Lee Jones, your host. I like to talk about getting from here to there so much that I wrote a book about it. But today, I won't be alone. I'm excited to have a really, really smart person with me who specializes in getting the most out of you. My guest is Madelaine. Madelaine or Madelaine?
Madelaine would be fine. I have a whole story about that, but go on.
We're going to get right to it then. So my guest here, and she's introduced herself, is Madelaine Claire Weiss, a Harvard-trained psychotherapist and board-certified executive career and life coach who helps people master their minds so they can enjoy satisfaction and success at work and at home. And we're going to dig into her new book, Getting to Great, and the 5-step strategy for work and life. Good morning. How you doing, Madelaine?
I'm doing great. Good morning to you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm super excited to have you here. How's your day? How's the day treating you so far? We had a little technical challenges in the beginning. I got to figure out what my link is to the show, so it's all on me. But besides that, how is your day treating you?
Perfect so far. It's early.
It's early. Let's be optimistic about it. So where are you calling in from?
Washington, D.C.
Are you from Washington, D.C.?
No, I'm a Philly girl.
You're a Philly girl? I'm from Maryland. I used to live in Oxon Hill, Maryland. So we're East Coast buddies. So
I think my family used to go crabbing in Maryland when I was little, which was like my favorite thing. Yeah.
I'm a Baltimore guy, and I'm allergic to seafood. So there's that.
All seafood?
All seafood. I mean, I can eat tuna fish in a can because probably it's processed and all. They took all of the fishy part out of it. But yeah, anything else other than that, I just don't eat any of it though. I don't want to take any chances.
Yeah. Good for you staying healthy.
Oh, trying my best. Trying. Yeah. All right. So before we even get into the show, let's tell us the story about the name. Let's get to that first.
Oh, it's just at some point I decided, okay, my mother either spelled it wrong or said it wrong, and I'm going to fix it. So I was on my way. This was actually when I was on my way to become a board certified coach. I had to take certain number of credits in training, and I took them in Vancouver, and I was going to meet hundreds of people I had never met before in my life. And I thought, okay, this is the perfect time to start pronouncing my name correctly. So that was about, I don't know, 7 years ago or so, or 8.
Yeah.
And I remember coming home and announcing to my adult children how we were going to pronounce my name now. They're like, who are you? Like, what do you do?
I love it. And it's so many people's names out there. And well, I'm not going to say so many, but there are people's names out there who, we go through the schooling system here and I did in the United States, and they teach you to sound it out. And then you look at these names and like, how did you get that name out of those letters in that formation? Like, that is not how it's pronounced, right? So I appreciate you recognizing that, especially since you were rebranding yourself, I guess, and talking and meeting the people 7 years ago. So that's pretty awesome.
I should add that I can't exactly get the new way out of my mouth fluently. But I spent so many decades this way. And then, anyway, hi.
I love it. Hey, so we're going to jump right into it.
Okay.
Right. And we want to talk about great. So when you hear the phrase getting to great, What does great actually mean beyond just achievement?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that tell y'all. So here's great,
Uh-huh.
but my latest book is this.
Okay.
And the reason for this, which is really in a way similar to this, only this
Uh-huh.
is for middle-aged kids, is because all of my adult clients were saying, "Why didn't somebody tell me this when I was 8?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I did a search and I did see some very fine looking children's books on mindfulness, but I didn't see one explicitly talking about the brain and how the mind, and you can ask me what I think is the difference between the brain and the mind if you feel like it, but how the mind makes up stories and then
Mhm.
we live in them like we think they're true. And
Mm.
once we realize that we're making it up in the first place, we can make it up better. So that's all throughout this and this. So this is very nice for parents to use with their kids. So
Mhm.
anyway, great. One
So
day, yeah.
go ahead.
So
Go no, go ahead. Go ahead.
to your question, like
Uh-huh.
and you'll notice it as DOS. So
Mm,
it's
mhm.
it's an acronym. So
Uh-huh.
one day I decided I was thinking like about all of my clients and I was thinking they're so different, each one from the other in age and ethnicity and occupation and just all sorts of different ways in which they were different, but they all seemed to be doing well in the work that we were
Mhm.
doing and in their lives. So I thought, and since my background is so varied and my training from this to this, because I'm a learning junkie,
Uh-huh.
I thought, like, what are you doing with these? Like, what are you doing with these people? So I laid out all the folders and I'm sitting there and I'm contemplating. And I came up with what I thought was a 5 step process that
Mhm.
no matter who you were or how you were getting, and I'll use your words, getting from here to there,
Mhm.
what process were they going through?
Yeah.
And what seemed common to all was these 5 steps, and you can only imagine my delight when I realized that I could fit them into the acronym. Great.
And that's something.
Yeah. So, do you want me to break it down?
Yeah, break it down really quick. Absolutely.
Okay,
Oh, no, no,
great.
no, no, no. No, don't
No,
break it down, right?
no.
First, tell me
Yeah,
your definition, the difference between the brain and the mind, and then we'll
yeah.
break down great.
I do, continuing education
Mhm.
to stay fresh and useful and also to keep my license up, and I
Mhm.
yesterday attended a conference out of Harvard Medical School on brain medicine,
Hmm.
and there's heard them saying that this distinction between brain and mind, they're almost, putting aside now and looking at other things. But I remember being taking a cognitive behavioral course with a very well known author whose name I'll leave out for the moment.
Okay.
And I raised my hand, as I am wont to do,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
said, I notice you're using the terms brain and mind interchangeably. Could you unpack that for us? And he
Mhm.
got a little miffed with me. And he didn't like that I asked that question. So
Uh-huh.
he said, "I'll tell you what, why don't we take your brain out, put it on a slab, cut it up into little pieces, and see what's left of your mind?"
Mm.
Which felt a little hostile to me. So afterwards, I went up to him and I said, "I'm really sorry.
Mhm.
It seemed kind of like you didn't appreciate my question." And he said, "That's okay. You have epistemic hunger." and I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, I was hoping you're gonna explain it because I don't either.
So, learning junkie that I am, of course, I went home and I looked that up, and
Mhm.
it was a compliment of sorts. It's just and it was true. It's just somebody who's hungry to learn,
Yeah.
hungry for knowledge. I also wanna throw in quickly that I attended a, exhibit
Mhm.
at the Museum of Science in Boston, where I used to live, right across the street, actually, and
Yeah.
they had an exhibit on the brain. And I went up to the exhibitors at the end, the people behind the table kind of a thing, and
Mhm,
I
mhm.
said, "I notice," or maybe it was on the mind or something, but I said, "I notice that there's no definition or differentiation between brain and mind, and I was curious to know what you would say about what the mind is." And they said, "Oh, yeah, we don't know what that is." So and
Yeah.
it's actually known, like consciousness is known as the hard question. So people are sort of comfortable with not knowing what that is. But for your listeners,
Mm.
the best way that I have come to terms, the simplest way that I have come to terms with it is that the brain is the hardware and the mind is the software, the
Mm.
programming. And that brings us back to how each of us has a hand in that programming, and we can program it better when we're in charge of it
Yeah.
instead of it in charge of us.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like,
I got excited when I was looking you up, right, on the Google and things like that. So I was looking you up and I noticed that you were saying a lot of similar things. And I was like, okay, now we got a really highly smart, educated individual who's going to break this stuff down. Because for me, it's not really a new concept, but getting from here to there, one of the key things that I've understood is that you really got to pay attention to, and I'll say the mind, the software, right? You got to pay attention to the mind and you
yeah,
got to pay attention to what you're inputting, how you're rewriting or coding that software in your mind because you are the architect.
yes.
And that's power in that, right? Just understanding that because your mind is constantly going to tell you stuff. And typically it's
Responsibility.
yeah, exactly.
It's
And
the
typically
right
it's for a
and the
good
responsibility.
say that again. The right and the
You said there's power in that. I'm
mhm.
adding. There's a responsibility in that. You are responsible for that,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just,
and it's your right. It's your right
exactly.
to your own mind.
And you should be aware of that. It's more power in it because typically what I've learned, and you can tell me different, what I've learned and read and figured out is that your mind is really acting in your best interests, but in acting in your best interest, it could fail you monumentally, depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to be great, it's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you alive. It's trying to keep you, all of these different things. And it can
Agree.
contradict or it can go against what it is that you're really trying to accomplish. So what is your
Well,
perception of that? Go ahead.
it isn't that you're trying to accomplish this and this is
Mm-hmm.
in the way. You're trying to accomplish this and that. And the
Mm.
one that either has less discipline or more power wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is that we want both. Like, we want to lose 5 pounds and we want that strawberry cheesecake. We
Mm.
want
Sounds
we want both. And
yeah.
the one we want more in any given moment wins unless we exert discipline like you do over a 2-year-old child, because
Mm.
the mind is like a 2-year-old who's wreaking havoc all over your life unless it's
Mm.
disciplined.
Wow.
By
All
the
right,
way,
now
wait, I just wanna tell you that every time you say I'm smart, I I'm laughing because
why?
because I didn't I'm not gonna argue it now, but I didn't know that for almost, like, till I was, like, 25
Yeah.
years old.
Mhm.
In fact, all of my teachers used to say, "Why can't you be like your brother?"
Mm.
And I
Mm.
remember in kindergarten, the first day, I
Mhm.
got on the little tricycle and left the classroom and just was riding all over the building on the
Mm.
little so I was a little unruly, speaking of discipline that way. But
Yeah.
when I was about 25 years old, I, gave a presentation to the faculty as part of an honors thesis program, and that's when I found out that I was smart, but I went for the first 25 years thinking I was a ditz.
Mm.
And so talk about a story in your head
Yeah.
that
Great
was
example.
entirely untrue, but how would I have known? How would I
Yeah.
have known the story was how how would I have known the true story was I was smart?
So what gave you the validation that you were smart at that age when you were given it? Was it the feedback that you received from the faculty in the success that you received from your presentation? What was the pivot? What helped your mind to understand that you were smart?
Well, I wanna be careful here
Okay.
because it's not just and it's not primarily, I don't even think, the external feedback,
Mhm.
although I will give you an example of external feedback that changed my life.
Mhm.
But I do think, like, when you think about little kids who are playing soccer and they get a trophy for nothing, I
Mm.
don't think that builds self-esteem.
Mm-mm.
I think what builds self-esteem is when the kid sees their foot on the ball and they're moving it. Right?
Mhm.
So, when they see their agency, when they see their ability to impact the world, that
Yeah.
is what I think builds self-esteem, but there was a, written evaluation, and they did say something like, "We doubt that she even knows how brilliant she is," and I thought, "Well, you got that
Mm.
right." I had no idea,
Wow.
but the more I put out, the more I could see myself. Like, sometimes, especially in my work with clients,
Yeah.
when something will come to me that it almost feels like channeling,
Mhm.
and I think it comes from the attunement, the, quality of the connection with
Mhm.
the other person, but it seems sometimes it's just so spot on that
Right.
it's otherworldly. I will tell you, there are many, many things I don't know anything about, and I'm very aware of that and think I have a good sense of what I know and what I don't. And
Mm.
there's more that I don't than I do, but I think what I do. Yeah.
Pretty darn good, right?
It's a
Now I
nice way to live, to feel,
it
like,
is.
sort of secure that you don't have to know everything, that
Mm.
we're all here, I think, to contribute from our own abilities.
Yeah.
And that's all we have to do. It doesn't have to be everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I had a similar story. I wasn't doing a hypothesis or anything like that. I was in a creative writing class, and I had to do a project, and it was really just write what you want to write. It was a creative writing class, so it didn't have a lot of parameters or things like that. Just write a creative piece, and so I wrote it, and I felt pretty good about it, right? And I sent it in to the teacher, and that external validation really hit home, and hers, I believe it was like, "This is great work. You should be published already," or something to that effect. And I was similar to you. I was like, "Whoa, I should be published." And it
Did
took
you?
me still decades before I became published. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
but
Decades.
but the seed was
The
planted.
seed was planted, and I always wanted to put something out there. I always wanted to write. I always
Yeah.
wanted, but I never had I'm not gonna say the discipline. I never really honed in on what it was that I wanted to say until later on in life. And I think I had to go through some of those experiences of life to understand what it is that I really wanted to contribute to the world or to society through a book.
I think this is so spot on to what you just said that we should break it down really quick.
Go.
Yeah?
Go
Yeah?
for it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
G. The grounding. When people come to me, they don't say, "I want a great life."
Mhm.
Usually something is troubling them, something
Yeah.
doesn't feel right, or there is something, even if everything is kind of meh, there is something more that they want and there's pain associated with that. So anyway, I um I know what's possible for people
Mhm.
because I've seen it over and over and over and over again. So G for grounding, I hold that ground for them until they can step into it and run with it on their own. This idea that people can get, again, to use your words, from here to there
Mhm.
in their lives. And the first line of the book is a great life depends on a great fit between who we are and the environments in which we work and live. So if it all hinges on who we are, then the R is for recognizing who we are, not, and you were just talking about this, not who somebody else thinks
Mhm.
we should be,
Mm.
but something deeper than that. And the quieter we get, and I teach people how to get quieter, the more we can hear that essence that bubbles up when
Yeah.
it's not tamped down by internal and external constraints. So
Yeah.
once we recognize more the true essence of who we are, then the E is we go exploring. So there are all kinds of ways to be in the world and things to do in the world. And it's not necessarily what somebody else said it should be. It's not even necessarily who we always thought we should be.
Mm.
So there's this adventure phase where people are just trying on new hats, new ideas, new ways of being in the world. And we cannot stay there because that's a bit of a dreamland, it's a bit
Mm.
of a la la land. And so um, the A is action.
Mhm.
So William James said, action doesn't guarantee happiness, but there is no happiness without action. So like at the end of every session with my clients, there are always action steps that are generated from what they came up with in the session to keep them on this path of how do you get from here to there.
Mhm.
And then the T is for, and you can say either tackling,
Mhm.
taming, or tending
Mm.
the resistance to change, which, and you were talking about that earlier,
Yeah.
like the safety, for example.
Mhm.
Sometimes people are afraid of their own success,
Yeah.
and so they shrink from it, and that would be something they either need to tackle or tame or, like, tend, and that depends on your own nature,
Yeah.
how you're gonna deal with the thing that keeps cropping up that means you well, but holds you back. So that's the GRE.
You just walked us through the 5 step, the great strategy. And what's one from your observation, what's one of those steps or strategies that many people skip over or they miss?
Well, I think that they get stuck at the T phase.
Right at the end. Okay.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
everything goes swimmingly,
Yeah.
and then, you know, people are doing their lives the way they're doing their lives,
I like it.
almost more because it did work than that it didn't. You
Mm,
know, over years, if you kept doing something and you could see yourself that it wasn't working, most of us are smart enough to try maybe a little bit of something else.
mhm.
The- I don't know if you've ever heard about the Coke machine experiment.
No, I
So
haven't.
there's this classic Coke machine experiment where they notice that intermittent, like now and then, reinforcement is very, very powerful.
Mhm.
So if you have a coping strategy, let's say you like to avoid bad news.
Okay.
So people you work with, you sort of block out they're telling you what's really going on kind of a thing. Well, if you're an adult and maybe you even have your own business and you're still doing that, it's not because it never worked. It's because it worked enough of the time that you would hang on to that more easily than you would leap to something
Mm.
else. And there's
Yeah.
actually something called CEO disease.
Mm.
And the definition of it includes just blocking out any feedback that doesn't feel good.
Wow.
So,
CEO disease, huh?
yeah,
Like like
that yeah.
like a CEO, or the CEO stand for something else other.
No, 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 it's people who are in leadership positions,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes because they're so stressed, think it's better if they just I have a client who's exactly like this.
Yeah.
Think it's better if they just take care of, manage, and control everything themselves, and they're so clutched because it's so much that they don't wanna hear anything,
Mm.
and this author called it a disease because it's not really good for the person doing it, it's not good for their family, and it's not good for their business either,
Mm.
so but it's not
Wow.
uncommon in my experience for high performing people to clutch to that.
That's interesting. I was sitting there thinking of I guess that's not an example. Like I don't watch the news because I don't like what I hear. But in the military, you go through a lot of these situations, and you really need all the feedback and information you can get. And
Yeah.
being in the military is uncomfortable a lot of the times. And being able to still thrive in an uncomfortable environment is necessary to be successful in the military, in combat, or anything like that, right? And in life, just being able to be, because it's not going to always be comfortable. So when I think about that, like, how can someone recognize that they are just not hearing the negative side, or that external feedback that could possibly give them a different perspective on how they are, or maybe those gaps that could help them to leap or
Isn't
pivot?
part of the, it what allows someone in the military to survive and if not thrive, the camaraderie?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, people in the military are not living in a vacuum the way some CEOs are.
Mm. Yeah, but
I've never
some.
been in the military, I'm just telling you what I thought
Yeah, and
was
I get it, and I get that, and I get that, and that makes a lot of sense. But a lot of times there's camaraderie, but then there's leader follower dynamic as well. And a lot of times it is in the military pretty pretty lonely being a leader in a lot of situations.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And it
yes.
is, so
It's
there are some
it's the same
similarities and some
thing.
differences.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so the answer to your question
Mhm.
is very often someone outside of the individual who's
Mm,
got blinders on will complain.
mm,
Maybe a spouse, maybe a business partner. And
yeah,
often, like, people will come to me and tell me that someone's having a problem with the way they are.
yeah.
So maybe that someone matters.
Yeah.
Again, it can be a business partner, it could be a spouse, it could be one's children. Um, so
Yeah.
then they make an effort to look at themselves,
Mm.
which is not something that is that easy.
Yeah.
And again, the idea of changing, like the kinds of people that we're talking about, these high powered people who
Mhm.
have gone it alone in some way,
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe due to their upbringing or their temperament or, their genes or some combination
Mhm.
thereof. In my work with them, I've seen them make tremendous gains and then also get to a point where they need to pause
Mm.
and then maybe come back
Yeah.
because it's scary outside of the comfort zone
Yeah.
because it's untested. These other, not perfect strategies are at least tested. And
Yeah.
sometimes they even work. Not always, but sometimes they even work. But the
Mhm.
new stuff, trying to do things differently, is completely untested.
Yeah.
So in our work, if they can do something little, not too big, not too little, but just right. And the reason not too big is because it's overwhelming. And the reason not too little is because it bores your brain. Your brain
Mhm.
needs to see something in
Mhm.
order to keep motivated on your behalf. But some little thing where they can see they took a step in the direction of, when you say from here to there, they took a step in a direction of there and it was fine
Yeah.
or it was great, but nobody died. Nothing fell apart. And
Yeah.
so then maybe they'll take another step and another step.
All right. Since we focusing on these CEOs and high achieving executives, if you could give a stressed out executive one question to ask themselves this week, what would it be and why?
Well, what popped into my mind immediately is a question somebody posed to me a
I like
long,
it.
long time ago. And the question is something like, is this how you want to spend the rest of your life?
Mm, mm,
Because when somebody asked me that, it shook me up. She said, do you see yourself sitting in that seat for the rest of your life?
mm. No. Yeah, yeah, that shit. That doesn't. Excuse my language. That doesn't have to just go to executives. That's a question for everybody. To at
Everybody.
least pose to yourself at some frequency or some cadence throughout your life. That is an amazing
Yeah.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's simple, and it provokes you to think about your situation. It provokes you to explore your here, your now, your what your the culmination of all your decisions up to this point. Do
I
you do
went
you
to
still want to
business
make this?
school
Uh-huh.
after she I was, um I was the administrative director and treasurer of a group mental health practice at the time,
Mhm.
and this was a while ago when managed care had just come on the scene, and it was really affecting us in a very stressful way, and I was trying to manage that with no business experience or education whatsoever,
Mm.
and, when she said, "Do you see yourself like this for the rest of your life?" After that, I went to business school.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
all of which is to say, the question prompted a change in my life that I'm happy
yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hey, whoever you watching right now, you're listening, just ask the question. Hit pause, ask that question, and get your own, narrative started right now, and do it purposefully. Don't let your mind take over the narrative. Right, you are in control. Just remember that. All right. So, how do you help someone? And I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question, but how do you help someone to not necessarily rebuild satisfaction, but understand what satisfaction is when they've hit goals, but they still feel empty.
Yeah, so you're kind of hitting on meaning and purpose
Yeah, yeah.
and that sort of thing. You know, I was thinking back to how, like, as a grade school student or in middle school,
Mhm.
how little I understood how much I loved to learn. And
Me too.
there were moments where there was actually delight in learning that were lost on me. And I guess what I'm saying in answer to your question is, again, the quieter we become, just take them. By the way, there's on my website,
Mhm.
there's a tab that says Power Breathe. It's a 30-second mindset reset. It's free. You could download it.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, a lot of people meditate, but a lot of people just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And which is fine. But this is like a mini way to reset for the quiet. It also stimulates the polyvagal nerve, which brings a clarity to the higher brain and a calm throughout the body. And so my idea is that the more stillness you can create, the more guidance, the more data
Mhm.
you will experience from within. So, example, the more quiet you are, the more you can notice this really delights me. Maybe I should have more of that in my life,
Mm.
whatever it is. And it's different for each of us. But when we're just churning and driving all the time and it's very noisy in there, we we don't even know what
Yeah.
it is that fulfills us because we can't feel it in our body and we can't hear it. It's so stillness.
Mm. I like that. All right, so Imma download that. You said it's 30 seconds, I can handle 30 seconds of power breathing. So after the 30 seconds of the power breathing exercise, is that when you go into a quiet state? I mean, how does
Well,
what is the
you're
next action after that?
you're quieter because you did that.
Mm.
I had a young man who was my client, and he actually his life was great. Things were going really well, but he had a very busy mind, and it was driving him crazy. Like, he just he couldn't rest. Yeah. So, I did this power breathing thing with him,
Mhm.
and 30 seconds after he just went, "Wow."
Yeah.
It was it was like he had taken, like, a psychedelic drug or something,
Wow.
and
Ugh.
all he did was do a certain kind of breathing for 30
Okay.
seconds,
Okay.
and just as a way to reset. I call it a 30-second mindset reset or power breathing because it's so powerful or whatever, but just whatever anyone can do that works for them. This is just the easiest one I know of, but
Yeah.
whatever, maybe cooking does that for somebody, but just to be able to clear. People worry that they'll get lazy if they get too calm, and they
Mm.
won't be sharp, and they won't be smart, and they won't be productive. It's not like that. It's
Yeah.
not like that.
All right. So you talked about your book, What's Your Story? What's the link between how adults manage stress and what children learn from them?
Oh my god. The link could not be stronger.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes. There are people who are almost like shackled by what they learned about how to approach problems.
Mhm.
There's that story about, like, the elephant that's in the circus, and it's a baby elephant, and they put a chain around its ankle so it doesn't leave and hurt people and whatever, and at some point, the elephant has so taken in the experience of being shackled that they don't really need the chains anymore,
Yeah.
and it's still not gonna go anywhere, and it's the same sort of thing where people learned this one way, the only way they ever saw of how to approach problems, and it's like programming,
Mm.
and I just last week, I heard myself saying to someone, and that's the grounding thing. It feels like that's the only way it will ever be, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, you can I don't it might be easy, it might be hard,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
you can learn a new habit.
Yeah.
That's a habit
Yeah.
that you learned, and you can learn a new one.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes I go through that exercise mentally with things and how I'll respond. And I'll ask myself, why did you respond like that? Is that programming? Like I think just understanding and just having an insight into yourself and a curiosity about who you are
I love that word.
is really important. It'll help you out because then you'll start
Yeah.
thinking about the way why there's so many examples, right? Because it's just programming, right?
There's, I read a lot of evolutionary psychology, that's one of the tools I told you that there's all these different kinds of tools in my toolkit, that's one
Yeah.
of them. And Robert Wright, it's the first book I read on that subject, and he wrote The Moral Animal. And in that book, he talks about knobs and tunings. And the knobs are the human capacities that we all have.
Mhm.
So we all have the capacity to flip out when we don't like the
Yeah,
way
exactly.
things are going. But we all also have different tunings. So let's say that's a knob. Aggression, let's say,
Mhm.
is a
Mhm.
knob. But we have different tunings on those knobs, and we can't really change the knobs, and we don't have to. But we can get in charge when we talk about mastering the mind, we
Mm.
can get in charge of maybe turning this up a little bit, maybe turning it down, and maybe you turn it up in this situation and you turn it down in that one. So I always found that really useful way to think
Yeah.
about it because it's kinda non-judgmental. It's like
Yeah.
we all have the same knobs,
Yeah.
and we can regulate them.
And exactly, and the power for you is understanding that there are knobs, 1, and
Get
that
your hands
you
on the
can turn
wheel.
them.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that's conceptual, but even though it's reality, but what does mastering your mind look like in a real world moment?
That
Turning the knobs up and down?
well, who do I wanna be in this moment?
Yeah.
And does that require a little more of this part of me and a little less of that part of me?
Right. I
I
try
think
to
we Go ahead.
no, I try to yeah, I like that. Just trying to figure out what response makes sense in this situation. And I'll give
So that we are responding and not reacting, as they always say.
exactly. I'll give you a really quick example. I remember I was in the military and someone who was over me, they said something that's pretty disrespectful, and then I flipped off. But in this situation, we were it was just me and this person. Um, and when I left, like I was equally disrespectful. But in the military, this person outranked me, so I would be the one who gets in trouble in this situation. So I
Hmm.
walked away from that, just thinking like, wow, I just really screwed myself by responding the way I did. And in that moment, and nothing happened, so thankfully the guy didn't push it any kind of way. But in that moment, I still carry that moment with me now. I just think about how I respond to things, and to couple that example at one point in the military, I think we all do, but at one point I had to go to anger management, right? So I go to anger management and they tell you, hey, who makes you mad, and something to that effect. And I was like, yeah, you can make me mad if you do this or you do that and you do this. And the overarching theme was, no, only you can make yourself mad. You allow yourself to become mad, right? So that started to open my mind to those knobs, right? And just
Mhm.
understanding that you're going to have that urge or you're going to have that feeling, but you don't have to act on it all the time. And just understanding that I have the power to see. And what I
Well,
normally tell, last point, what I really tell my team, normally tell my team, is a simplified version of that, is to try to hear the message. When a person is coming and you fit, your narrative, or that's what I call it, your narrator. They're deciphering what someone is telling you, and they're putting a lot of emotion in it too, to keep you safe, right? So now you're becoming maybe aggressive, or you're becoming defensive, or you're becoming whatever it is based off of this external input. I tell them to try to hear the message, and that thought for me came in that moment when I reacted disrespectfully to a senior person in the military. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, I just wanna make sure
Hmm.
that we don't make it sound like there are good emotions and bad emotions,
Okay.
because I, for one, don't believe in good emotions and bad emotions.
Okay.
In other words, you know,
Hmm.
w what's in there helped us to survive and to thrive so that we're even
Exactly.
here talking about it. And there are times when aggression matters.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so being able to, and not all situations allow for this, but whenever a situation allows for the disconnection, Vic Viktor Frankl, Man's
Mm,
Search for Meaning,
mhm,
talks about, it's a wonderful quote, I'm probably gonna botch it a little bit, but between stimulus and response, the thing that happened and how we behave about it. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our moment of choice,
mhm,
and in that choice is our growth and our freedom. The thing is that not not all situations allow for the space, but even the situations where there can be space to pause, to center, and to think, who do I want to be and how do I want to be in this moment?
mm,
Not everybody creates that space.
yeah,
So it's not that when we're triggered, we're bad because we got triggered. And it's not that our emotion is bad. It's that we need to create a space so we can arrive at the optimal way to respond in the situation, which sometimes even includes doing nothing.
yeah.
So,
Mm. And you see, that's why I was excited to have you on here, because you really break it down to the nuts and bolts. I just tell you, hey, this is how I feel, and this is what I know to have. Not know. This is what I've experienced. You breaking it down, so you're making me better. You're making us better by breaking it down, and it's all about understanding who you are, how your mind works in that moment. And I love the question: who do I want to be in this moment? Because it's a little time, and you say, I believe, you say that there's not always enough time to make that decision. And I guess that's accurate. But more times than not, you have a
right,
moment where you
right.
can slow it down and you can ask yourself that question
You can
instinctively.
create that
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it.
and and center first, because you don't, so this is the hand model of the brain, and this is the emotional center here, and it's
Okay.
flailing around, and when
Mhm.
it does that, it throws the higher brain offline.
Yep.
So when you do something like the 30-second mindset reset, you bring your higher brain functioning back online. So your emotions, which are very important, a lot of people sort of diss them, and I'm trying to be really clear. I am not doing that. So your emotions provide data
Mhm,
to
mhm,
your higher brain. So they say to your higher brain, something's going on here. I'm not sure about this. And sometimes it's even positive. I've had clients who get like way too excited when a potential investor like flatters them or something.
mm,
So excited they can't even think straight
mm,
about whether whatever it is a good deal or not. So when it's very emotional like that, it's data. It's not a directive, it doesn't tell you what to do. It feeds it up to the higher brain who can
mm,
say, "Thank you for sharing. I got
yeah,
it from here." But if all we have is raw emotion and we haven't done anything to reset ourselves, we don't have a higher brain. So that's
mm,
why I can't stress enough
I like it.
to create that space, create the
Mhm,
pause, and figure out what's the best way for you to center yourself, and then you can respond, like they say, rather than react.
alright, Madeleine, what did I not ask you that you wish more people understood about getting to great?
Well, one of the things that I find doesn't necessarily come up in the conversation, and then I always want to throw it in as like a party favor,
Mhm,
is
mhm,
this idea of good company. I've
mm,
also studied Advaita Vedanta pre-Hindu tradition for 25 years, believe it or not, and in that, there was this, concept
mhm,
of good company, and you said something earlier that comes up in this, so I'll show you where that is. But
mhm,
good company is not just the people you're with, it's the food you eat, it's the books you read, it's the music you listen to. Like you said, you don't watch the news. It's
mm,
the media that you take in or not. It does include the people we invite into our lives. And but this is the thing that you said I'm coming back to. Above all, good company includes the thoughts in our head.
mm,
What we allow ourselves to entertain, what what we I was gonna say what we let in. We don't necessarily have control over that, but the
mhm,
thoughts and feelings actually don't last that long if we don't pick them up and chew on them like a dog with a bone.
mhm,
If
mhm,
we just let them come, they will also go in the same way, like in and out, and when they come back, you just let them go again. So that's how you get control over the thoughts in your mind, and they should be good company, the best company that you can muster for all of those things that I mentioned.
mm,
Quality. Yeah.
yeah. So, Madeleine, where can the listeners, the watchers connect with you, learn about your books, and take the next step with your work?
Okay. It's all in one place. All my little social media icons and the power breathing, and there's a tab for the books. And I also offer a complimentary strategy session for anyone who's interested in that. And there's a place for that also. So it's all on my website,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
is madeleineWeiss.com.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy. Hey, Madeleine, I really thank you for coming on the show, for giving me a little
Oh,
more education, putting some more tools in my toolbox. It's all about learning who you are, understanding how your mind works, and you really showed us that getting to great isn't about doing more. It's about thinking
oh,
clear, managing stress differently, and building success that you actually enjoy. Thank
thank
you.
you. That was beautiful.
I really appreciate this conversation.
Me
And
too.
and And to the listeners, if there's something in today's conversation, it hit home, take one step this week. Pick one mindset shift and practice it until it becomes your new normal. And I will see you next time on Hindsight the Podcast.
That's Hindsight.